Listen, you're not gonna find anything on me, okay? Trust me.
Empty your pockets into the tray, sir, or we'll have to. Your pockets, sir?
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants.
Fans of the channel may have noticed we didn't really do it This Week in X-Men this week, and I don't know, it feels like interest in most of the X-Men titles has kind of died down quite a bit, other than the flagship X-Men series by Jonathan Hickman and the Wolverine series. Obviously, Wolverine being one of the best-selling solo characters at Marvel Comics kind of makes sense. We all, I think a lot of people agree that Ben Percy's doing wonderful work on that anyway. And, I was kind of thinking about it. Obviously, Doc and I are still going to be talking about comics and stuff, but we're not going to do it This Week in X-Men every single week from X-Men because it just doesn't warrant it anymore. There are other things to talk about, and X-Men's just not hot like it was, like 8-9 months ago, when Dawn of X kind of first heated up. Obviously, here with me to talk about this is the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado. Doc, how you doing?
I am all right. I'm a little disappointed that This Week in X-Men is not going to be a mainstay of the channel anymore, but at the same time, it doesn't deserve it.
It's so weird, coming into Dawn of X, initially we were like, hey, this is a lot of titles, and little did we know that was just the tip of the iceberg. It's grown kind of exponentially over time. They've had their first event, and this is my big question. Where the hell is Jonathan Hickman? We don't really hear from him anymore. He was doing a lot of interviews and things at the beginning. He's never been like a huge social media presence, but he was there, and he would promote things now and then. He's completely off of social media, and he doesn't. I don't feel Jonathan Hickman within the X-Men lineup. I barely felt him in Ten of Swords. That felt like a Teenie Howard event, not a Jonathan Hickman event. If he's the head of X, shouldn't we feel the influence of Jonathan Hickman throughout the X-Men line?
I would agree. We should. If he's the head of X, we should feel his fingerprints. See his fingerprints on most of the line. We should feel like he's a guiding hand here. And in my opinion, he's an absentee leader at this point.
I hate to agree with you, but I think there might be some reasons for this. Now, we know obviously the X-Men team is quite large. It's substantial, and supposedly, I think maybe daily, weekly, they do these big Zoom calls where they're all talking about the future of X-Men, and they bounce ideas off each other. And we know that some great ideas have moved around for titles and stuff like that. But Jonathan Hickman is known, I wouldn't say a perfectionist, but he is a man about details and is a man about vision and long-term planning. Now, he is the head of X. He's the guiding figure, the guiding light. But you also still have a group editor, and that would be Jordan White.
Yes.
Not exactly known as a detail man.
Far from it.
I could see from Jonathan Hickman's perspective, if I had to work with this buffoon, he was making major decisions and sometimes maybe even overriding my decisions because he is the group editor. I might step back too. You know what I mean?
I think that this whole situation, we remember about 6 months ago, he was constantly, every time he would, on the rare occasion he would tweet about something, it was about trying to get fired. Mm-hmm. I get the feeling that wasn't him just being, just playful and joking around. I think that there was a very serious, very high degree of truth to that. He legitimately wanted to get fired so that he could get the hell out of this. Now, if he had to stick around, he didn't mind the paycheck. And we saw around that time, it seems like his influence was waning. TieIns was taking a more central role in the promotion, in the development for X of Swords, as that was starting to get going, and it feels like we might have not taken him as seriously as we should have with his jokes.
Yeah, like I said, every once in a while, apparently we are going to get that revisit to the Children of the Vault storyline we already had. That was one of the more exciting things that Hickman introduced during Dawn of X with the X-Men solo title, obviously kind of tied in a little bit to what they were doing with House of X Powers of 10. Certainly tied directly in. I believe the issue 1 is where we saw the Children of the Vault character for the first time. So, that's kind of stuff's exciting, but I wanted to see his presence and his oversight and his direction kind of flowing throughout the entire line and getting improved writing and improved ideas, from people outside of Zeb Wells and Ben Percy. And it doesn't feel, some people I know are big fans of Marauders, but I think, for the most part, the verdict's in. T.D. Howard's Excalibur, not very good. Leah Williams, X Factor, really, really bad. I haven't read Vita Ayala's New Mutants. I heard it wasn't very good. But even then, before that, with Ed Brisson, a known commodity on X-Men that is a good X-Men writer, was not a very good story. Yeah. And even Brian Edward Hills, who left quite early, and it doesn't appear that he's coming back, which he initially said that he was with his Fallen Angels. Another disappointing story. Like, it felt aimless. Did they cut him off? Did he get to finish his story? Because it almost didn't feel like it.
I get the feeling that Brian Hill's story is going to get finished by Zeb Wells and Hellions. Yeah, you're right. It seems like the verdict is in on most of these books, and most of them people don't really have, like half of them people just don't care about, because there is no, if there is a Hickman influence, it's not very strong. We don't see it. It feels like it's deviating further and further and further from what everything we all enjoyed and were excited for coming out of House of X and Powers of X. And we've seen this a lot through, like half of the books. There's that one wing of the X office, Excalibur, X Factor, New Mutants, Marauders, that now Marauders is still kind of sticking with a lot of that stuff, but it just sucks. Mm-hmm. The other ones, they feel like they're getting further and further and further away from what anybody gave a shit about. Because I know I don't care about what's going on in them.
No, that's one of the key problems. We'll kind of get more into that. But another issue I have noticed is there have been a lot of tie-ins within to the Dawn of X, now Reign of X series. They had to, basically halt what they were doing on X-Men and do an Empire tie-in for 2 issues. We've got King and Black tie-ins. Everything feels to be tying in. Another thing that I imagine would annoy the absolute crap out of someone like Jonathan Hickman, who has long-term plans. He's trying to execute them, and it probably every few months he gets interrupted to tie into one of these stupid events that have nothing to do with his series, but they need X-Men to be on it to raise the platform and the status of it, because X-Men is actually still selling well.
Well, I think they need that. I think they need it for 2 reasons. One, so that we can't just write this whole era off whenever Hickman leaves as an alternate universe, when Moira dies and is reborn for the 11th time, and we find out that this entire era has been basically an alternate universe, which will be fine. I mean, I think we all kind of knew that was going to happen coming in. So they need to make it so that the X-Men aren't entirely cut off from the Marvel Universe otherwise, because I think most of us would kind of prefer that at this point, and they won't let us have that.
Well, I would just prefer the X-Men office be cut in half, and instead of having these competing ideas, let's get into Ten of Swords. And one of the biggest issues is, since House of X, Powers of 10, Jonathan Hickman had been talking about the origin of Apocalypse, the origin of Morocco, Krakoa, Okara, and how the demon hordes came through the breach. It was sealed by a sword, and Apocalypse lost his original 4 horsemen and his entire family on the other side. And who were the original 4 horsemen? They are coming back. We knew that. But then over on Excalibur, you've had T.D. Howard working in this. I don't even remember the name of it. It's the Sir Jamie Braddock, Captain Britain,
Avalon, Otherworld.
Yeah, this Avalon universe with the Citadel and Saturnine. They couldn't be at more odds just tonally. They do not fit in the same universe. They could not be more at odds with like the direction and the end point that they wanted to get to. So we have this really cool thing that we've been looking forward to. So we're going to see the demon armies of Morocco basically confront the mutant armies of Krakoa, and someone's going to win. As you know, are they going to finally reunite and reform Okara? That's what kind of Jonathan Hickman was working to. But over here in Avalon, we got this weird world where it's all shenanigans and stupid, like essentially literary nonsense. I feel like I'm reading Alice in Wonderland. With this Saturnine, is she a villain or a good guy, or is she just wanting to show everybody that she's in control, and all this stupid nonsense. So you have one firm reader base is enjoying this, another firm reader base is enjoying this. There isn't a whole lot of crossover, but then they made them cross over in this Ten of Swords event, and
all you're going to do is piss off half people.
I would have been like, get me out of here. This sucks. My event was way better. Why am I even including this in there?
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to resolve a couple of those open, and I'm going to disagree with you to some degree. The whole Morocco, Krakoa, Okara, original Horseman, Apocalypse lineage thing. It was a minor tacked on plot point from like 2 pages in the original in the House of X, Powers of X. It wasn't really central to it, in my opinion. It didn't really matter except for establishing that Apocalypse had a past with Krakoa when we had never seen one before. But other than that, I mean, I didn't find it to be that. It was interesting. It was a curiosity, but it was kind of an idle curiosity for me. I would have been fine for them. It
was clear that they were moving towards that when you went and you had the little, was it the Red Diamond Mysteries? Were about the original 4 Horsemen, letting you know we are moving towards this. We are going to identify them.
Yeah, it'll matter.
Yeah, are they going to reunite the islands because they would like that?
Yes, I mean, yeah, they. I couldn't really bring myself to care that much, and then adding on all of the nonsensical bullshit in Otherworld, and it feels like somebody's trying to write The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and has no actual writing skill, and that's what that book is. And it's like you're trying to do a crossover between a bad fanfic of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe mixed with maybe the Terminator series, because they're trying to stop an AI from evolving. It doesn't really work very well. This seems like that you have 2 different sets of toys in 2 different toy boxes, and everybody just decided to start smashing them together. And while that might be amusing for a 4-year-old in their sandbox, it's not really that interesting for anyone actually reading it. And I guarantee Hickman, being like a teenager with his bunch of toys, going, this is stupid. Why am I sitting here dealing with this? I don't want to do this. I feel like he just keeps getting emotionally and mentally checked out every passing month.
Yeah, so you see the influence of Hickman becoming less and less overall in the series. Now, there have been a couple of creators who have navigated well. We've mentioned them before. Zeb Wells, he created the only real story within Ten of Swords that kind of made any sense with his Hellions thing, even though it kind of seems superfluous. I imagine they're going to revisit it. It's like, this at least feels like it's an ongoing part of his story. Everything else was just so start and stop, and the tones couldn't be any more different. Obviously, Ben Percy has done a great job, although he did write a bad comic book when he was doing that Storm stuff. I think he co-wrote Marauders with Jerry Duggan. I hope they never do that again.
Yes.
It was just awful. But who's the main influential voices? Because it doesn't feel like it's Hickman. Are Leah Williams and Teenie Howard? Do they have the ear of Jordan White now? Are they like the key influence of the X-Men?
Yes, in my opinion, yes. Jordan White he's regardless of whether or not Hickman's label is head of X, Jordan White is ultimately the head of X. He is the ultimate head of X. I guarantee if there's a conflict between Jonathan Hickman and versus, the Tinny Howard, Vita Ayala, Leah Williams, Jerry Duggan's side, they will guarantee Jordan White is guaranteed to take their side over his. I can tell you that right now.
Well, I don't know I don't know Jordan White, but it sure feels like something has changed monumentally, just in the terms of the tone and scope of just what X-Men is now. It's very disappointing. I'm still reading X-Men. I'm reading Hellions, one of my favorite series. Definitely reading Wolverine, one of my favorite series. Still reading X-Men. Hit or miss, and X-Force is becoming more hit or miss, but still more good than bad, in my opinion. But I've kind of checked out on the rest. Although I am still reading Sword, because I think Sword actually has potential if it didn't get interrupted by King in Black.
Yeah, if Sword wouldn't have gotten turned into a crossover book on issue 2, we had basically what amounts to really an issue 0 for number 1, because nothing really mattered. And then we have a King in Black spin-off miniseries, essentially for at least issues 2 and 3. I'm not sure about issue 4. I think King in Black will be done by then. So really, whatever we're going to get from this series, it's going to actually start on issue 4 or 5. By then, we can maybe figure out what this goddamn book's going to be about. And the first 2 issues weren't terrible. They were just not really all that great either. But it does have potential. It's a reasonable concept, but we're not going to find out for another 2 months, or at least another 2 issues.
But I've already checked out with the rest. I'm not really all that interested. We know we have Way of X coming up.
Nope.
Not all that interested. Nightcrawler is my favorite character. This feels like it's going against the entire core of the character. I'm going to check it out, but I'm not. I don't have any expectations. We know we got X-Core coming up. In a couple other titles, obviously, we'll get those details moving around. But I don't know. They should stop thinking about expansion, and they should start thinking about getting the tone right across the line and get things moving in the right direction. And maybe getting Jonathan Hickman back on board, because without him, it feels aimless and quite dysfunctional.
You know what this really feels like? This feels like the X Office 2 years ago before Jonathan Hickman was involved. Because they had that ukulele playing fool as the guiding hand of the department. What does it feel like again? Like you have some ukulele playing fool with a terrible mustache guiding that office again. That's who feels like he's in charge. There was a feeling during House of X, Powers of X. There was a feeling during early Dawn of X that Hickman was he was the Professor X of that office, and that's gone. That whole feeling is gone.
Yeah, that's it. I couldn't agree with you more. Hopefully things change soon, but as things keep getting bigger and bigger, I do think Jonathan Hickman will leave eventually. Although I'm certain that he does enjoy the paycheck. So maybe these are funding his next independent creator projects down the line. So maybe he'll stick around so he can write a few more books. But I imagine that he is in not the best mental state right now. Probably pretty fed up. It certainly shows in the product that we're getting in X-Men, and it doesn't feel like Jonathan Hickman is really there anymore.
I think we said it a couple of months. I think I said it a couple of months ago that it feels like he is completely checked out. I'm sticking with that. It feels like he is checked out. He doesn't give a shit, and as long as they give him his paycheck, and they keep adding zeros to it, he doesn't care.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.